Mile 22 of my very first marathon. I'm limping, my knee is screaming, and I see the sweet bus just ahead waiting for me. I knew what was about to happen, and I knew I'd done this to myself. Because 9 months earlier, when someone suggested I use walking intervals in my training, I laughed it off. I thought walking was quitting. When I first started running at 43, walking felt like failure. I'd only walk when I was so exhausted I couldn't take another step, gasping for air, legs cramping, and feeling embarrassed every time I stopped. Walking was my break glass in case of emergency tool. Eventually, someone recommended that I try planned walking intervals. They said it would make me stronger, so I tried it. But every time the walking interval ended, I struggled to get going again. My muscles had tightened up so much that starting to run again felt awful. So I decided it wasn't for me, dismissed the whole concept, and determined that I just needed to get tougher. Fast forward to mile 22 of that first marathon. Sitting on the bus, knee wrapped in ice, watching other runners still going. Over the next months, as my knee was healing, I had plenty of time to think about what had gone wrong. And one thought kept haunting me. What if those walking intervals weren't the problem? What if I was just doing them wrong? So I spent that time studying everything I could find about incorporating walking into training and racing. It turns out my walking breaks were simply too long. By the time I started running again, my muscles had cooled down and tightened up. When the time came to start training again for next year's version of that marathon I didn't finish, I experimented. I kept my walking breaks short, 1 minute or less, and something clicked. Suddenly, the walking didn't feel like stopping. It felt like breathing. Like my body was getting just enough recovery to keep going strong. I started using different intervals for different purposes, and that's when walking transformed from my greatest shame into my secret weapon. 1 year after getting swept, I'm back out on that same course, same marathon, but this time I have a plan. Every mile I'm running 3 minutes, then walking for 1. It feels almost too easy at first. I keep waiting for that moment where I fall apart. Mile 15, the point where my knee started to hurt last time, I'm feeling strong. Mile 19, where I began limping the year before, I'm still moving pretty well. Mile 22, where I was swept from the course the previous year, I ran right past that bus. 4 miles later, I crossed the finish line. I wasn't fast, but I finished strong. Because this time I didn't wait until I needed to walk. I walked before I needed it. Just like going to the dentist, preventative visits work a whole lot better than waiting until you're in pain. Over the next few years, I got more strategic about it. I learned that different goals need different approaches. For my long training runs, the ones that build aerobic endurance, I used shorter ratios, sometimes 30 seconds of running followed by 30 seconds of walking. That let me stay on my feet longer without beating up my body. And here's the thing, marathon training isn't just about miles. It's about time on your feet. We talked about that in last week's video. If you run straight for 3 miles at a 12-minute pace, you're on your feet for 36 minutes. But if you do run-walk intervals for a full hour, you're covering those same 3 miles of running, plus you've got another 24 minutes of walking. That's a full hour on your feet, 33% more training time, with way less impact. For shorter races or speed work, I flip it. Maybe 5 minutes running followed by 1 minute walking. Sometimes sprinting for 200 meters, then walking for 400 meters. Different intervals for different objectives. But always the brief walk break resets my system just enough that I can actually hold a faster pace overall than if I tried to run straight through. But the biggest game changer came from my rest days. In those early years, I thought rest meant being as inactive as possible. I'd barely move, thinking my body needed complete shutdown to recover. Then I started taking 30 to 45-minute walks on rest days. Not runs, just brisk walks. And you know what I noticed? I felt stronger the next day. The walking was actually accelerating my recovery, increasing blood flow, naturally stretching muscles as they became warm and loose. This is especially true in our 40s and 50s. Our bodies don't recover from just sitting around. Often, they just get stiff. Our bodies recover from movements. I've also used walking as a strategy to allow me to participate in longer races that I wasn't fully trained for. Sometimes I just don't want to miss out on the fun. So I've learned to walk during the early miles, then run strong to the finish line once I know my body can handle it. A few years ago, some friends invited me to run a local half marathon with them, but it was only 2 weeks away and I wasn't properly trained. Old me would have either said no or tried to push through and probably gotten injured. Instead, I calculated how far I could safely run. I figured about 9 miles. So I walked briskly for the first 4 miles, chatting with my friends, staying loose. Then at mile 4, I started running, and I finished that race strong, without any pain and without any regret. I didn't care what anyone else thought. It was my race, and I enjoyed every step. That's the thing about walking strategically. It gives you options. It gives you freedom. It lets you say yes to races and experiences you might otherwise have to skip. Here's what took me way too long to understand. Walking isn't weakness. It's not failure. It's not giving up. Walking is strategy. The runners who dismiss it, they're the ones I see on the sidelines nursing injuries. The ones who embrace it, they're the ones crossing the finish lines, building consistency, getting stronger year after year. But here's the key, and this is what I tell everyone I coach. Use your training to experiment. Try different intervals. See what works for your body, because what works for me might not work for you. Just don't experiment on race day. Trust me on that one. 6 marathons later, I'm stronger at 54 than I was at 43. I recover faster, I stay injury-free, and I genuinely enjoy my training more because I'm not constantly fighting my body. I'm working with it. All because I finally let go of the idea that walking makes me less of a runner. If anything, it made me more of a runner, a smarter one, a more consistent one who's still out there lacing up shoes instead of sitting on the couch with ice packs wondering what went wrong. So if you're training for a marathon in midlife, here's my challenge. Give it a try. On your next long run, try a 4-to-1 ratio. 4 minutes running, 1 minute walking. See how it feels, and then come back and tell me in the comments. And hey, if you'd like to work with a coach that can help you figure out the best approach for training for your next race, visit midlifemarathoner.com for details on how you and I could work together to accomplish your running goals. My name is Brian, and I'll see you next week.